What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo back at the fake bench, and today I have another cut or carry pin review. So this time taking a look at the Tactile turn side click, and I will probably call this the bolt many times in this video because it's very similar to the bolt, and that's just what I'm used to. So of course this one comes in literally days after I ship out the Tactile turn bolt, which I did end up selling. And it has a lot of similarities, and so I wish I could have done a side-by-side, but no big deal. But this is the second Tactile turn pin that I have had. I obviously had the bolt in titanium, looked very similar to this. Enjoyed that pin for a lot. Enjoyed that pin for a while, and I ultimately got the Tie Scribe bolt from Urban Survival Gear. Really like this pin. I did a head-to-head of those. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown on this pin, things that I like and things that I don't like. And so it'll probably be a fairly quick review, but I wanted to record something. So the Tactile turn side click. So ways that this is similar to the bolt. So this is basically the same case, the same body. You have this, if I can get it on camera, you have this, for lack of a better word, ribbing, or this kind of, whatever you want to call this, where it's not just a smooth body pin. You do have some, I don't know if that's for, it's some texture at least. So it's a little bit of grip. It's just something different. But the machining is very nice. You can see where the cap comes off here, so it's not completely invisible, but it's pretty seamless. And then this is this accepts the Pilot G2, which is a must-have for me. But the difference in this pin is that this is not a bolt. Excuse me. This is not a bolt action. This is a classic kind of click pin. So you push that there, and you have this deployed, and then to release the pin, you push this side button right here. So hence the side click pin. So different mechanism, and so it's kind of interesting to see how it translates on the side click here. The other major difference is the pocket clip. So this pocket clip is very interesting in a few ways, and I'll talk about that in a second. You may already be able to tell what I'm talking about. But this is very different from the pocket clip on the bolt, which I considered one of the best pin clips that I've ever seen. So I'm not exactly sure why they went with something like this. I mean, I can understand certainly why the original clip wouldn't work on this pin, because you have to be able to push the cap here. But this is a completely different style and completely different function, so it's kind of interesting. So that's kind of just a quick rundown of the pin. These retail around $100, kind of depending on the different configuration that you get and whatnot. So things that I like about the Tactile turn side click. So for one, I like the pin body in general, although I find it a little bit too thick. It really just bugged me once I got the Tie Scribe, because I realized how big it was. But I do like the pin body. I think it's comfortable. I think it looks pretty cool. It's pretty sleek. I like the titanium, and while this is not necessarily my favorite aesthetic, I do think it's pretty cool. It does show, quite a bit of machining and just some finesse, I guess. So I do really like that. I also like that it's a G2 pin. If you watch my channel, you know that I'm a big G2 fan, and so pretty much any pin that I carry has to be able to accept the G2 refill, and this one does, so no problem there. I think it writes very smoothly. There's really not any wiggle down here. Any wiggle. Oh my! It fits very well. You don't have the nib of the pen moving as you're writing. Overall, it's a solid writing instrument, which is what more do you want in a pen? Unless you're a pen reviewer like I am now, and then you want much more. So that's really the only thing I like about this pen, that it carries those similarities with the bolt. Things I don't like about this pen: pretty much everything else, every change that they've made to the bolt. For one, the bolt is just a much better actuating method than this, in a number of ways, right? So it's sleeker. This has just kind of added visual complexity and honestly functional complexity. It's just not as smooth, right? So you push this down, and this is titanium, and this is not necessarily super smooth, but not terrible. However, this button here is pretty awful. This sticks like crazy. I don't know if you can hear this. but it's not very smooth. You really do not get that same kind of feel of quality that you do with the tactile turn bolt. I assume this will wear in to some degree, but it's just not enjoyable. It's a fairly small button. You have to press it down a lot, and as you're pressing it, you're getting that kind of rubbing noise, and it's not a joy to use at all. I really dislike the side click. I guess there is something about being able to kind of hit it with your thumb, but this just feels, you don't feel any quality here. You're spending $100 on this pin, and you're getting this every time. And so that's really disappointing. I'm really not a fan of that. I think the bolt is a much better kind of mechanism. And then the other big thing that I really dislike about this pin, for two reasons, is the clip. First reason being they had a perfect clip on the bolt. One of the best pin clips that I've ever seen. Worked great. It was strong. It was sleek. It was excellent. This is not the same, right? So not as sleek, doesn't work as well. You have a much less robust clip. You're going to get a shorter space here, so it's going to be a little bit harder over thicker material. Just a little bit flimsier, very thin piece of titanium right there. But really the thing that just drives me nuts is that this is just a tie scribe pocket clip. This is just a larger version of the tie scribe clip. Now, I don't want to make an insinuation that's maybe unfounded, but honestly, I don't know which pin came first, but I've seen the tie scribe for many years. This is a relatively new pin. It had its own very unique tactile turn pocket clip before, and now it has a clip that looks like this. I don't want to make any claims about, the origins of the clip, but you can see them side by side, and it just gives me a weird feeling. I'm just not a fan. I don't think it works well. Like with this pin, it looks right on the pin. It works with the design. It works with the actuating method. It's really the one thing that bugs me about this pin, honestly, is that I'm not a huge fan of the pocket clip. But it does match the aesthetic of the pin, and it does, I think, work fine. This one just seems like it was plucked off of a tie scribe and plopped onto the tactile turn. It doesn't match the aesthetic of the pin. It doesn't work super well. It just gives me a weird feeling. And so I'm really not a fan of that. So shocker, cut or carry from me, this is going to be a cut. I really dislike this pin. I don't like the actuating method. I don't like the side click, and the pocket clip just really gives me a weird feeling. So that's it for me. This will be a cut. Yeah, I will continue on with my tie scribe, which has become my daily carry pin. All right, thank you for watching today, and I will see you next time.